Which Big Ten duels should you be pumped to watch this season? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans, and welcome to Big Ten Tuesday here on the Fanco Wrestling YouTube channel. And this is a very special and exciting Big Ten Tuesday because the Big Ten schedules are officially out. It seems like we've been waiting for these schedules to release forever, and they're finally here. If you are interested in seeing the full schedules, you can actually check them out down at the link below, right on Flow Wrestling. You can check out the full Big Ten schedules, but I'm going to be telling you about my most anticipated duels of 2021. I'm super psyched about a lot of duels happening this season, and I like wrestling season here. And I'm super pumped because the first official Big Ten matches are happening this weekend. And we'll get to those in just one second. But first, I have to talk about the duels that we actually are not going to be getting this season. So as we look at the schedules and analyze, the first questions that come about is, I can't believe that this team and that team are not wrestling. And that's one of the things that's happening here with Michigan and Minnesota. So Michigan and Minnesota are not wrestling during the regular season. So that means we're not going to be getting Gable Season versus Mason Parris in the regular season. We're going to have to wait until the postseason for that, which is fine. It's just going to make it that much sweeter to watch that match. Penn State and Michigan are not going to be wrestling, Penn State and Nebraska are not going to be wrestling, even after that exciting match last year, that barn burner of a match. We're not going to be getting that one this year, but it would have been an exciting duel. Nebraska and Michigan not going to be getting that, or Rutgers at Iowa. We're not going to be getting Rutgers or Iowa either, which is kind of sad because I was interested in seeing Sebastian Rivera go up against Jaden Ironman in a dual meet setting and seeing how that would have went. So listen, we're not going to be getting those duels, but these are some duels that we are going to be getting. Starting on the weekend of January 8th, Minnesota at Nebraska is going to be happening on the 8th of January weekend, and there are going to be some good matches. The reason I'm throwing this on my most anticipated duels isn't because I think it's going to be that crazy of a duel meet. I really don't. I think that Nebraska is mostly going to walk through Minnesota. I think Minnesota has a solid squad, and maybe they'll prove me wrong, but Nebraska, I think, is just they're too tough of a team. They're top 5 team this year, and they deserve to be there. But I'm putting this duel here because Big Ten Wrestling's back. Big Ten Wrestling is back, and with a first big duel like this, it's going to be exciting to see. Now let's get into my real, can't even contain my excitement. Can't even contain my excitement duel. So, Nebraska and Iowa. Nebraska is heading to Iowa to wrestle. And listen, on paper, Iowa is the better team. They just are. They are the better team, but I think that Nebraska can still give some tough matches. Nebraska is very tough, especially up top, where they have Taylor Venge, where they have Mikey Labriola and Schultz. They just have a very good lineup, a strong heavyweight as well. But there are going to be some interesting matchups, especially with those guys in top 10 matchups, looking at Mikey Labriola going up against Mike Kemmerer. The battle of the mics, I guess, at 174. It was a tight 3-1 match last year when Kemmerer was able to pull off that win. And Kemmerer is the number 1 this year. So if Labriola can pull off a win like that, it would be big for him. Venge versus Assad going to be happening at 184. Well, I'm looking for Venge to be stepping it up this year. But we could be seeing Assad or Nelson Branch this year. I mean, we'll see who Iowa ends up sending out this year. Schultz and Warner happening at 197. It's going to be a great duel all around. And really, it's going to be one of the first big exciting duels of the year. Next up on the weekend of January 31st, Michigan at Iowa. This could be the duel of the year. I don't know if it will be, but it could be. On paper, Iowa dominates Michigan on paper. I'll be honest. I think they do just because of where these guys match up. I don't think it's going to end up being a dominant win. I don't, but on paper, I think that's kind of how it goes down. And the thing, too, is, these teams, they don't have – every single team doesn't have, a guy like Spencer Lee, right? Spencer Lee, I think, can dominate every single match. And I think that he can score bonus in every single match that he's wrestled this year. I really do. I think you can count on Spencer Lee for 4, 5, or 6 points every single match that he wrestles this year because he is – the guy at 125. He's the pound-for-pound best wrestler in the country. He's the Hodge Trophy winner of last year, is likely going to win it this year, and I think you can count on him for 5 or 6 points every single match. And because of that, that puts Iowa at a big advantage every single duel, coming in a duel, assuming they start at 125, and the teams are just going to have to fight back from that. So DeSanto versus Micic is going to be interesting. Could go either way. We know that Micic has the last 2 wins, but DeSanto has beat him in the past. We'll see how that ends up turning out this year. Especially, we'll see how Micic does this year. If he ends up returning this year, what's going on there. Massa looking absolutely massive, but can he beat Kemmerer? I think, can he beat Kemmerer is going to be the interesting question at 174. And Michigan is just strong up top with Miles Amin. Embry, could he upset Warner? The Paris and Cassiope match should be interesting to see, but we'll see how that turns out. I think that Iowa gets the win, but it's an anticipated match for me. The next matchup that I'm really excited about is just because these two teams are always kind of in contention for a trophy, at least to be in the top 3 every single year in the last 5-10 years, Iowa and Ohio State. So this is happening at Purdue. They'll also be wrestling Purdue that weekend, which should be a good match as well, because I think Purdue is a solid team this year, top 15 team for sure. Sasso and Murin. So these two have actually wrestled, but back when Sasso was in high school, Murin was in college, I believe, at the time, beat him at the 2018 World Team Trials Challenge, and so that should be interesting, as well as Sasso. The fact that he's the number 1 guy, Murin is bumping up a weight. Can Murin beat the number 1 guy in the country? Because if so, that sets Iowa up very well for a lot of number 1 ranked guys in the country, as well as a lot of potential national title contenders, which I think they already have. But interesting matchup. Rocky Jordan and Abe Assad. Assad has 2 wins over Jordan in the past, but how can that turn out this year? Tate Orndorff transferring in the offseason. How is he going to do against Anthony Cassiope? They haven't wrestled yet, and I think that's a good test to see how Orndorff does against Cassiope, as well as I'm interested to see how Cassiope has progressed in this offseason, and I'm willing to bet it's a lot, but we'll see. This season is a different season, so we'll see how everything ends up turning out. And then this is going to be another exciting one. Same exact weekend. The weekend of February 7th, Penn State at Michigan. 2 top 3 teams right now. Michigan is number 3, Penn State number 2 in the coaches poll. I don't necessarily believe that Penn State should be at number 2 right now, but they're a good team. This is an interesting matchup, and I'm anticipating this mostly because it's like solar opposite teams, and the fact that Penn State is a very young team. Not that it's anything bad. They're a young team. We're not sure what they really have to offer yet with these guys. Michigan is a veteran team. A lot of guys returning from redshirt, Olympic redshirt, medical, whatever it is, they're returning. They have a lot of guys in their 6th year of eligibility. Penn State has guys in their first year of eligibility, and not that means a lot different, but they're veteran college wrestlers. So how is this team going to stack up? And we're going to get a look at the future of both these teams when Joe Lee and Cam Amin go at it at 165, both young wrestlers. It'll be interesting to see what these two can bring to the table against each other. We'll have Starachi and Mass at 174, Brooks and Miles Amin at 184, Beard and Embry at 97, Kirkfleet and Paris at 285. It seems like a lot of these matches I'm talking about so far, it's like a big clash in a lot of these upperweights, which is exciting. I'll be honest. It's exciting to see a clash of these upperweights because I'm usually more excited about the lower weights, the lightweights, but to see these upperweights battle, I'm psyched. I really am psyched to see all these matches happen. Kirkfleet and Paris, let's talk about that for a second. So, Paris is easily a top 2 guy. He's behind Gable Stevenson right now, and I'm excited to see how that goes. But Kirkfleet, this is his first real test, right? Penn State will have Rutgers, Michigan State, Northwestern leading up to this duel, this duel in itself is a test for the team. But for Kirkfleet, this is his first real test. We've seen him do well in the offseason. We've seen him do well in high school. We've seen him do well in the past. But what is he going to bring to the college scene? Can he contend with a guy like Paris, or is Paris out of his league? I'm willing to bet it's going to be a heck of a match with 2 guys that love to score, and just seeing what Kirkfleet has brought in the offseason, I'm super psyched to see what he brings this season against a guy like Mason Paris. February 12th, we're going to get that's the weekend not of love, but of rivalries, and the fact that we're going to get first Ohio State and Michigan wrestling each other, which I think should be an exciting duel. But then my most anticipated match of the entire year, because my Nittany Lions I'm super psyched for, going up against Iowa, but not just because of that, but because these are the number 1, number 2 ranked teams. And when Iowa beat them last year, it set up an exciting duel for the future. These 2 teams have been rivals for the last 10 plus years. Just heavy rivals. So this duel, it means a lot. It means a lot. So Penn State, let's call it for what it is. They're going to have to win and get some upsets. They're going to have to win probably 5 or 6 matches in order to win this duel. They just are. Because I think the thing is, Penn State is able to score bonus points, and a lot of times they're able to score bonus points against tough teams. But where Penn State's bonus guys are, as far as we know right now, with a guy like Rome Brava-Young and Nick Lee, who was, just scored in exorbitant amounts of points during the season last year. Just insane how many points he was able to put on the board. These two guys are going to be, I don't want to say shut down, like, don't take that as, like, losses or anything, but shut down as far as bonus points. Like, I don't know if Rome Brava-Young can score bonus points against DeSanto. Matt, no, you may be saying, well, he pretty much was going to pin him last year in the duel. Yes, it did appear like that was going to happen twice in the match, but is that going to happen this year? I don't know. DeSanto's a very tough opponent. I think he's going to give RBY a tough match. And Nick Lee going up against Jaden Ironman, like, I doubt that Nick Lee, who's typically scores bonus points, are going to be able to get that against Ironman. I think those matches are going to be very tight. And when I already mentioned, like, Spencer Lee probably going to be getting some 4, 5, or 6 points. Penn State's going to have to find a way to come back from that. But Srirachi and Kemmer would be an interesting, it's a Pennsylvania matchup, right? It's a Pennsylvania matchup between 2 state champs from Pennsylvania, young guy in Srirachi versus the veteran Michael Kemmer, the number 1 guy. Hopefully he still is at that point in the season. We'll see. Penn State will need to win a couple of tough matches, probably 57 or 97 if they want to win this. But Iowa is the favorite here, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Penn State at Ohio State is happening the following weekend, the weekend of February 19th. February 19th when Penn State and Ohio State. I'm just excited because this is one of my favorite rivalries, football, wrestling, whatever you want to talk about. It's a classic matchup in rivalry. Penn State should beat Ohio State pretty good this season, but we still should have some interesting matches. Verclaren and Sasso was a good match last year. I believe it went into overtime when Sasso was able to pull it off, but if Verclaren can wrestle like that this season, I'm super excited to see what is going to happen. Karchula, I'm intrigued about Karchula because we saw him wrestle well in freestyle, but changing over to folk style, how is he going to make that transition? Especially when he was able to beat a guy like Mikhail Lewis, national champ, in freestyle. How will he do against Joe Lee? How will this young matchup be? 165 seems like kind of a young weight, a lot of up-and-comers. How's that going to turn out? And then Srirachi and Romero. Romero, a proven guy. Srirachi, at that point, he may or may not be proven to be a competitor this season. I think he will be. I think that there's a lot to be excited about this season in a lot of these duels. We have so many great duels this season happening. These are my most anticipated duels of the entire year. I think that it's just going to be an exciting year of wrestling. And now that leads me asking you, which duel are you most looking forward to watching this season? I know I'm really most anticipating Iowa and Penn State. I know a lot of other people are, but maybe it's something else. Maybe you're a Nebraska fan. Maybe you're an Illinois fan. Maybe you are a Purdue fan. Which matches are you most excited to watch this season? Make sure you stay tuned to Fanco Wrestling for the latest in Big Ten wrestling news.